This woman was just cleaning at the police station. Yet, she immediately saw the mistake in the police investigation. She tossed away her lollipop, and her brain started working rapidly. In an instant, she realized that the police mistook the victim for the culprit. If there's a mistake, it must be corrected. She crossed out the suspect label, and then wrote victim underneath. She thought it was just a simple gesture. But the next day, Sheriff Walker, who was in charge of the case, was furious.
Who changed our board? A man is dead, our primary suspect is missing. This is not a joke.
Luckily, there were surveillance cameras in the station. Ella's dancing last night was all recorded, but there's no rule saying a cleaner can't listen to music and dance while working, right? However, the female leader had no time for jokes. She said interfering with a criminal case could land her in prison. Ella looked innocent. She was just helping correct a mistake. How could that be interfering with a criminal case? Walker was furious. He'd been a cop for decades. It wasn't up to a cleaner to teach him how to handle cases. The female leader ignored him. Instead, she pulled out the file and asked Ella to explain, and then it was her time to shine.
You've got a dead body. I'm assuming you think this lady offed her husband, but that's not possible. Look at this room. Look at this couch. All of these pillows are evenly spaced with alternating colors. Check out these shelves. Those objects are perfectly sized. Even the choice of metals is consistent. This house is immaculate. The owner is a tidiness freak, except all of these curtains are fastened with a tie back, except for one for some reason. That's odd, isn't it? You're telling me this woman who meticulously arranges her couch pillows doesn't care about her curtains? So the tieback must have been used for something else. See, look, you've got hairs stuck to the chair leg. Somebody put tape around it, ripped it off, the glue stayed, and trapped the little bits. That means someone was tied up with the curtain cord and taped to the chair around their ankles. And since there are no marks on the victim's wrist,
based on the details above, it's clear there was a third person at the scene. The hostess was just a victim. This deduction was flawless. Even Walker, who prided himself on decades of case solving, couldn't find a flaw, but he remained stubborn, saying they'd need to investigate nearby surveillance footage. Only then could they prove a third person was present. But just as he finished speaking, his subordinate came to confirm it.
A woman was seen entering the house at the time of the murder.
the third person.
However, in the end, Ella still violated the rules. Walker ordered his men to lock her in the holding cell, but he couldn't feel happy about it. He had to admit Ella's reasoning was correct. They had to overturn the entire case and quickly find another victim. Fortunately, surveillance near the crime scene revealed something. An Asian girl had been to the scene on the day of the crime. Although the girl kept denying it, she couldn't provide an alibi. Just as Walker and the others were about to pin her as the prime suspect, Ella, who was preparing to sign a confidentiality agreement, glanced casually and immediately noticed that the footage wasn't from the day of the crime. Seeing her infuriated Walker. The case had only just started making progress, but the female leader didn't mind. Instead, she wanted Ella to point out the discrepancy. It turns out the wind in the footage should have been blowing from the southeast, but in this season, the wind in the city should be blowing from the northwest. Clearly, this footage was from months ago. As for how to determine the wind direction in the footage, it's simple. There's a church behind the girl. Historically, priests always had churches face east, so that the sun would be behind them, making them look more like God. Then, just observe the leaves in the footage, and you can deduce the wind direction. As for the wind direction during the crime yesterday, anyone should know that, right? The officers looked at each other, not sure if they were being insulted or not.